Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A reading today from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, 3rd Chapter, text number 8. Dhatu paplava asane vyaktam dravam gunatmakam anadi nidana kalo Yavyaktaya pakashati Dhatu paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Anadi nidhana kalo Yavyaktaya pakashati Dhatu paplava asane Vyaktam dravam gunatmakam Anadi nidana kalo Vyavaktaya pakashati Dhatu paplava asane Yaktam dravam mugatmakam Anadi nidana kalo Yavaktaya pakashati Yato paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Nadim nidanan kalo Yavaktaya pakashati Natu paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Nadi nidana karo Yavaktaya pakashati Dhatu paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Anadi nidhana kalo Yavaktaya pakashati Dhatu paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Nidhana kalo Yavaktaya pakashati Vaishnavi Dhatu paplava asane Yaktam dravam gunatmakam Nadi nidhana karo Yaktaya pakashati Dhatu of the material elements. Upaplave, the dissolution. Asane, when it has become imminent. Vyaktam, the manifest cosmos. Dravya, gross objects. guna, and the subtle modes, atmakam, consisting of anadi, without beginning, nidhana, or end, kalaha, time, he, indeed, abhyaktaya, into the unmanifest, apakashati, draws. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. When the annihilation of the material elements is imminent, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of eternal time, withdraws the manifest cosmos, consisting of gross and subtle features, and the entire universe vanishes into non-manifestation. Everyone could please repeat. When the annihilation of the material elements is imminent, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his form of eternal time, withdraws the manifest cosmos, consisting of gross and subtle features, and the entire universe vanishes into non-manifestation. Purport. In the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Kapila Dev teaches that the material nature originally exists in an inert state of equilibrium called pradhana. When Lord Vishnu casts his potent glance in the form of kala, or time, material interactions take place, culminating in the variegated creation of the material cosmos. In this verse, it is stated that at the end of universal time, the same kala that originally incited the female nature into manifestation again withdraws the cosmos into its original state of inert non-manifestation. According to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the time potency itself, kala, is then withdrawn, and it merges into the Supreme Soul, who manifests himself as the original cause of material nature. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karana. Such technical arrangements for the creation and annihilation, birth and death, do not exist in the eternal spiritual kingdom of God. In the spiritual sky, the variegated spiritual enjoyment of the Lord and his devotees is not hampered by the inferior cycles of birth, maintenance, and destruction found in the material world. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this verse and 7 verses more are very technical. They deal with creation and annihilation. So this chapter is titled Liberation from the Illusory Energy. So one may question, why do we need to hear all this? Annihilation, more annihilation, all these things. We just want to hear about Krishna in Vrindavan, Lord Vishnu. But to understand the danger of material energy and the power of material energy and the power of eternal time. As Srila Prabhupada said, you can offer obeisances voluntarily to Krishna, or Kala will force you to offer dandavat. But that dandavat is not voluntary. And one time, that's it. A long dandavat. So this Kala is very powerful. That same Kala, which is actually a manifestation of Krishna, his power, which emanates from the Sudarshan Chakra. The Sudarshan Chakra is a wheel, cyclic, and it creates, by its movement, it creates the cyclic nature of this world. Of course, everything is coming from Krishna. Ham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. And therefore, there's also cyclic nature in the spiritual world. There is ashtakaliya, rasa, that every day the same basic pastimes go on. But the difference is nava yavana. It's always new. Krishna may again do the same thing with the gopis, but he will manifest himself in a very special way. And the gopis, or the cowherd boys, or Mother Yashoda, and Nanda Maharaj, will all experience Krishna in a new way. Because this is the nature of Krishna, always ever expanding. And the most wonderful, unlimited characteristic of Krishna is his kindness, his generosity, his loving nature, his mercy. These are the unlimited aspects that are manifested in rasa, and the unlimited aspects that are manifested in tattva. This is what we're talking about here. This is tattva, but this is, in one sense, because it is the manifest and unmanifest nature of this world. Just as Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita that bhutta grama sa ebayam bhutva praliyate, that this thing is going on and on and on and on, this cyclic nature of this world. Pratyagame vasaparta, that this night and day come of Brahma. His night and day are inconceivable for us. Just like a small child, again, under the influence of Kala, will think that a day is very long and a night is very long. Think a young person wanting to enjoy every day in school is very long, and every day on the weekend is very short. And when you get old, everything becomes short. The day is short, the night is short, another year passed by, and I am getting older. And this is how Kala manifests in this material world. But eternal time is simply giving the opportunity that different pastimes of Krishna will take place in a very unique way. The same thing, but in a very unique way. So, this is the nature of the material world, that prabhavan yahar agame, again, day and night, day and night. But parastasmat tu bhavon yo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. But beyond this is the real avyakta. There is the avyakta and there is avyaktokshara, the infallible avyakta, which means there's nothing material manifest there. And Krishna says, no, Avyaktokshara ityuktas. This is special. Tam ahur paramam gatim. And this is the supreme goal of the living entity, not to exist within this material nature and become fascinated by material nature. Geography channel, Discovery Channel, go on vacation and discover this wonderful place, the most beautiful island, the longest bridge, the highest bridge, the biggest mountain. And it's nothing compared to Krishna. Nothing. Just atomic. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita that this whole material nature is just a little spark of my creation. And I do it when I'm sleeping. Just like when we're sleeping, we create little dreams in a very uncontrolled manner. But Mahavishnu, he has a very controlled and very systematic dreaming process. But it's still, meaning it takes no effort. Here we struggle so hard just to maintain this body. And Mahavishnu manifests unlimited universes and more unlimited bodies and makes everything happen just by sleeping. So this is the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So as it says here, that things come out and things are drawn in. And this is the nature of this world. For Mahavishnu, he's just breathing. And unlimited universe go out, unlimited with every breath. Imagine what a long breath. Sometimes we see the pujaris, that they may be able to blow the conch shell for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. A big breath. But Mahavishnu, billions and trillions of years in one breath. If he were to blow the conch shell, it would be definitely a long, no competition. No competition. This is the nature of the Lord, that that there is no competition. That he has no second, not even no equal and no second. There's absolutely no competition. So in the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes that Markandeya Rishi, he was granted vision of Naranarayan Rishi. And he thought himself, I'm so fortunate to get this vision. Because even Lord Brahma, he may see the lotus feet of the Lord. And who am I compared to Brahma? But I'm able to see his whole transcendental body. How fortunate am I? This is how we should feel when we see the deity. Not, time for deity opening. Time for, that's sometimes our cyclic nature. That we cycle things mechanically. But Markandeya Rishi thought himself so fortunate. But then he thought, this great fortune that I'm experiencing, other people are not able to do this. How is this material energy, how can it be so powerful? Krishna is so beautiful. How can anyone abandon him? How can anyone give him up? He was thinking like this. So he said to Narayan, my Lord, because the Lord was very pleased, you are totally absorbed in spiritual life. Your spiritual practices are immaculate. Therefore, I offer you any benediction. And he said, my dear Lord, let me understand this wonderful material energy of yours, this Maya. How is it working? And the Lord smiled. Just like Arjuna smiled when Krishna smiled when Arjuna said, Lord, I will not fight. And he smiled, not approvingly, but smiled saying, you're very foolish. Sometimes we see a child, they want to do something, we know they're going to have some problem, some accident, but you can't stop them. If you stop them, it will be unlimited lamentation, yelling. So you kind of give a type of smile that, no, okay, go ahead. And this Lord Narayan, he said, he smiled like that. So be it. No, go ahead. No, you can do this. But he was actually, the smile was to tell him, don't do this. No, you don't need to do this. You're already perfectly situated. No. And this is a great lesson for us. We're already perfectly situated. We don't need to experience anything, but sometimes Maya is so powerful that she will make us think, no, I can't become too Krishna conscious, then I'll have to give up my desires. No? Or, Lord, take away all my desires, meaning the ones that cause me problems. But don't take away this one or that one. No, you have to leave those intact. So sometimes our mind bewilders us like this, that, yes, here you are in your Archa Vigraha, here you are in your pastimes, here you are in your holy name, Abhinatvam Namanamino, and I understand there's no difference. I may understand theoretically, but I have not understood perfectly. And therefore, sometimes we hanker for something in this world. Even a Brahmavadi, they understand that Brahmabhuta Prasanatma, they're situated in Brahmabhuta, and Nashurchati Nakangshati. They can give up, even in the Brahman platform, they can give up hankering for more things in this world and lamenting for something that we lose within this world. But because of so many karmic impressions that we have acquired, that are there, sometimes they manifest in dreams. We have these strange dreams, because all these impressions are there. And if we don't stamp them out, by Bhava Mahadvagnir Nivapanam, it says here in this purport that, and in the verse, that the Dravya Guna, that the gross objects and the subtle objects, the subtle energy, the modes of material nature, very complex and very powerful. And so we have to eliminate those attachments, get rid of these karmic impressions by taking more and more shelter of the holy name. Maybe by some degree of shelter in the holy name, yes, we can eliminate gross sinful activity. But the problem is with subtle attachments, is that they again can become manifest on the material platform. Even great yogis and impersonalists, they these things can form again and again, and even though they're doing such great austerities and penances, but still. And of course, our classic example is that even such a great sage as Vishwamrita Muni was bewildered by Menaka. So, such a powerful personality. Everyone was afraid of him. Even when Dasharat was, when Vishwamrita requested, can you give me something? Anything you want? I want your sons. Anything else? No. Anything else? Not that. No. And he went to Vashishta Muni, what do I do? And Vashishta Muni said, oh, he's too powerful. No. Don't, don't deny. You already told him. If you tell anyone, you're a great king, you tell anyone your promise, which of course later was his demise. The promise to KK, was his demise. But you can't, a king has to hold his promise. And so painfully he held his promise to KK. So at the same time, Vishwamitra Muni, so powerful that even Vasishtha Muni was very careful with him. He had already one bout with Vishwamitra. But Menaka, because Menaka allowed us to see the power of Maya. It's not by austerities and not by penances that we can conquer material nature. These things come from devotional service. Then they act properly. Otherwise, real austerity, real knowledge, that Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Yasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haitukam. They will happen automatically. You will get knowledge. Of course, it doesn't just appear in the head. No, it's not like osmosis. Let me put Bhagavad-gita on a little stand by my head at night and it will sink in. Not some mystical process. But because we're performing devotional service, then this knowledge, it stays with us as long as we're seriously performing devotional service. So Markandeya Rishi said, let me experience this. And then he had just seen the Lord. So there was an indication. He got his last chance to pull out. His last chance was, he was performing his daily duties, but he became a little negligent because he had just seen the Lord and he was so full of love that he couldn't perform his duties properly. The Lord was showing him, just see the power of my bhakti, that it's overpowering even your regulated devotional service. So powerful. But he couldn't catch that. And then all of a sudden, in the evening, after his daily duties, he'd actually forgotten that he asked for this boon. Because that's Maya, first of all, you forget the teachings. You forget the mercy that we have, and then Maya becomes manifest, like a wind blows in to our consciousness. So this huge wind began to come. And Markandeya Rishi was caught in the wind. Just like I remember when I was one time I was in a military school and a hurricane came and I was out walking. I didn't know it was coming. And it came, like 250 kilometer per hour wind. All of a sudden, I just grabbed onto a tree and put my back to the wind, and it was pushing me like this and that. I had to stay there 45 minutes. Things blowing by, even a car was turning over, and then the eye of the storm came, and I ran back and got in shelter. And then it came the other direction. But they were so powerful. But these winds, these are the winds of devastation. That was just a little hurricane. These are the winds of devastation. And, raindrops described as like wagon wheels. Because wagon wheels are crushing. Just like Sanatana Goswami, when he had these oozing sores on his body, he thought, let me put myself under the crushing wheels of the Jagannath's cart. Why? Because these oozing sores, he was willing to tolerate. But what he couldn't tolerate is when Lord Chaitanya embraced him. And Lord Chaitanya, when he stepped back, he saw on Lord Chaitanya's body, this oozing pus coming from his sword. This I cannot tolerate. I can tolerate thee, but I cannot tolerate any offense to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the nature of a devotee. He cannot tolerate any kind of offense. So, even though he was a great rishi, he was fearless. The power of the material energy fully manifest. The oceans began to rise from 4 directions, and they covered the earth. And the water was so rising so quickly, it covered the sky. Now you can imagine that. Sometimes a devotee may swim in the Ganga, and you feel the current's very strong. Well, imagine this current. And then it overwhelmingly was caught, tossed in the waves, one after another. And big sharks and Timingila were attacking him. They would almost swallow him, and getting beaten. And he became fearful and lamenting and fatigued. He couldn't even tell the sky from the ground, from the water, and he was so exhausted. Then finally, all of a sudden, he saw an island. An island. It's like sometimes Maya will attack a devotee, and they see an island, they see the relief. And what is in that island? Here, this temple, this is an island. This is an oasis in the midst of Maya. But sometimes we think, oh, here I'm too restricted. Stuck in the ashram, doing service every day. Why don't I start some nice family life, and have some freedom? There's no freedom here. But there's freedom of consciousness. The restriction, just like freedom. You analyze any revolution, all these revolutions that took place. Here in India also, the revolution against foreign occupation. And so many people had to die. Many people had to suffer. And so a revolution against Maya means, yes, my senses which desire unlimited pleasure will have to suffer a little bit. My mind which wants to explore material nature. My intelligence which is caught up in so many things and different philosophies and different understandings and making me think I'm something very great. I have to give that up? No. But what will I get? Unlimited consciousness. Then my consciousness will expand unlimitedly in Krishna. And Krishna, here he is in apparently in a 1.5 meter, 2 meter form. But he's unlimited. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan. He's the smallest and he's the biggest. So here's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so he saw that island, that opportunity to take shelter. And he saw a young banyan tree. And he looked on the northeast corner of the banyan tree. There was a leaf, a big leaf. And he saw a small child. He couldn't understand immediately who was that child. He couldn't understand. But he could understand that this child is very beautiful. And he came closer and closer and closer. And he saw the child smiling, beautiful lotus eyes, ears decorated with pomegranate, and a nose like a sesame flower, and so beautiful. And his emerald bluish form, so beautiful. He came closer and closer. And then he saw the child took his foot and put his toe in his mouth. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that means that Krishna thinks, my devotees, they find so much taste in my lotus feet. Let me see what it is. No. And so, just showing babies want to, experience things that are not so good for them. If any mother's child puts a foot in the mouth, the mother would be very disturbed. But Krishna, this shows how Krishna is conquered by his devotee. My devotee thinks my lotus feet are very wonderful. Actually, when Krishna, just before the beginning of Kali Yuga, when Krishna Krishna's always there. He's in Goloka Vrindavan in Dwarka, the Dwarka manifestation of. So Rukmini, he was coming to Rukmini's palace. And she personally prepared everything. She had so many servants. Just like Yashoda Mai had so many servants. But when Krishna was going to the houses of other gopis to steal yogurt, she's thinking, these servants don't know how to prepare yogurt properly. They don't know how to, let me do it personally. No. For Krishna, we do it personally. We don't call someone to do it for us. No. Our wealth, our whatever wealth, experience, ability, intelligence we may have, we surrender that to Krishna. We don't use it to exploit, but we surrender to Krishna. And then, and so Rukmini, Krishna came and he sat down and she began to wash his lotus feet. And then she began to cry incessantly. She was crying and crying. Krishna said, my dear Rukmini, what's wrong? Why are you crying? Why are you having this experience? And so she said, my Lord, I think you don't understand. She said, I don't understand. I'm the source of all knowledge. How can I not understand? I must understand everything. No, this you don't understand. You don't understand the power of your lotus feet. No. And Krishna said, he thought about it. And then she said, there's only one person that fully understands the power of your lotus feet, Srimati Radharani. And that's difficult for Rukmini to say because she doesn't want to divert Krishna's attention to Vrindavan, otherwise he may go away. When there was a big convention in Dwarka, because Krishna was starting to have strange dreams, according to the queens, strange dreams. Because first, in the dreams, Krishna was calling the cows. So why is Krishna interested in cows? Here he has palaces. Why is he remembering his, just like many devotees in our movement, they come from village. So, they were brought up with cows. Now they're living in a nice marble building, Anyone with material consciousness would call this progress. You've made progress. You've given up the dirt and the cows and so many difficulties, now. And so they were thinking, okay, well, that's not so bad. Then Krishna began to recite the names of the cowherd boys. Oh, what is this obsession with Vrindavan? Let us use more jewels and more cosmetics and attract Krishna away from this, these dangerous thoughts. But then he began to recite the names of the gopis, and that was intolerable for the queen. And so they had a big convention. And in that convention, Rukmini, she was against. Should Krishna go back to Vrindavan? No, he's manifesting more and more desire to go back to Vrindavan. Should he go? Should he not go? No. Narada Muni appeared. They asked Narada Muni. He didn't say anything. No. Then Uddhava appeared. And they put Uddhava on the spot. No. Should he go back? He's thinking, how can I say it? No, because Rohini and Balaram, they were saying he should go. No. He said he would go, and he hasn't gone. He should go. No. Rohini said, I know how much the residents of Vrindavan are suffering. And Balaram said, I saw it personally. No. And then he said, Uddhava, you also went. What did you see? Oh, Uddhava was thinking, I should take the side of Balaram, he's very powerful. But then Rukmini, she's also very powerful. And what to speak of, Satyabhama, she's very powerful. And so, Uddhava didn't know what to say. And then Krishna appeared. Actually, also, the mother of Kamsa, she was there. And she said, Krishna doesn't have to go to Vrindavan. Let's just send some money. They're poor. They're so poor that they couldn't even afford shoes for Krishna. He had to go into the forest barefoot. And also, they were so poor they couldn't feed him. Therefore, he had to go around to other people's homes and steal food. So let's just send some money; they'll be happy. And then they just said, "Take her away." She doesn't understand anything. And a big, big problem. So Rukmini was not in favor of Radharani. But she had to admit that. Even Chandravali, when Krishna returned to Vrindavan, she had to admit that the love of Radharani is the greatest. So when Krishna heard that, he said, I must experience this. How can I not know something? I must know. Of course, this is Leela. This is Leela. It's not that Krishna doesn't know. He appears as, he's eternally manifested, Lord Chaitanya in Goloka Vrindavan. And he comes time after time and time again. We're talking about cyclic nature. He comes time and time again. And so Markandeya Rishi, he became closer, and he saw the beautiful child, his breathing. He saw how the rhythm of his breathing, the beautiful folds in his stomach and his neck were moving as he breathed. And he became concentrated on the breath. And all of a sudden, Krishna inhaled, and he went inside of Krishna's mouth. And he saw the whole material nature so beautiful, just as he had seen it before. He saw his ashram. He saw everything. He saw he got a glimpse of the universal form. The whole universal form. He saw everything. And then Krishna exhaled, and he was thrown back into the dissolution 7 times. Showing us that even if you take shelter of Krishna, if you're not very careful, if you start seeing, here I am in my ashram again, here, now I remember my family, now I remember my friends, then 7 times. And the 7th time he was definitely ready to, I don't need any more understanding this material nature. He was very happy that finally he was back in his ashram and remembering what the Lord had told him. And he was definitely cured. So we get a crash course. We have Bhagavad-gita. It tells us about this material nature. Here, whoever gives the class tomorrow will probably read all of these upcoming verses because there's no purport. There is one big purport at the end of them. But otherwise, these verses explain the material nature, how it's working. And so we can understand, we're taught, and it's referred to in this purport, that Lord Kapila Dev explains these things. Why? Because first of all, when Shukadeva Goswami was explaining this to Parikshit Maharaj, it was, who was there? There were devotees, there were yogis, there were jnanis, there were Brahmavadis, there were everything. So therefore everything had to be explained in detail. But it wasn't that it wasn't that Parikshit Maharaj said, no, wait, I don't want to hear about this. No, he asked about everything because he was empowered to ask these questions for the satisfaction of all the different living entities. And so now Maya is being explained in some verses. And there was another instance of Maya, curiosity, devotees having some curiosity about Maya. Narada Muni, he asked Krishna, he was with Krishna, and he asked Krishna, what about your material energy? I want to know it. Krishna said, no, you don't. You don't want to know it. Yes, I want to know. Because same thing. You're so wonderful. I have no attraction to this material energy, but I have curiosity. How can it be so powerful that it can distract one from you? And Krishna thought, okay, I will teach you. So he said, my dear Narada, since you want to know, I don't recommend. So Krishna converted himself into a Brahmin and Narada Muni into a Brahmin. But Narada Muni knew that this was Krishna. And so they began to travel through the universe. And then they came to a Vaishya's home. And Krishna told the Vaishya that you are doing your duty. You are doing yagyas for the benefit of others. You are building temple. This is so wonderful you're doing. Continue to do so. You have my blessing. Okay. Narada Muni, okay, I'm trying to understand. How is this Maya? Then he went to the house of a Brahmin and he said, my dear Brahmin, the Brahmin received him, he did some worship and everything, received him very nicely. And he said, my dear Brahmin, I curse you that you will lose all your wealth. And Narada was confused. Well, first, just a Vaishya, he blesses him. Here's a Brahmin who's received him nicely, does Brahminical things. So he said, my Lord, I don't understand. Why did you curse this Brahmin? He said, because he is doing business on the side. He's farming and he's making money. This is not the business of a Brahmin. A Brahmin should be teaching others how to give up Maya, how to give up illusion, how to become absorbed in spirituality. So Krishna thought, Narada is very intelligent. He'll understand how this Brahmin was in Maya. But he didn't catch it. So Krishna says, the only way he's going to understand, he has to forget about me. So he said, still in the form of a Brahmin, they traveled and they arrived at a big lake. And Krishna said, you go bathe. We're exhausted traveling. You can imagine traveling. Sometimes we travel by train or airplane. We're tired. Traveling through the whole universe, that's a long trip. So Narada went. He said he goes into the lake, comes out, and the lake is converted into an ocean. He can't see the limits of it. And he's barely able to float above the water. And he begins to help me. And there's one king, Taladwaj. He's standing on the shore and he sees this person in distress. But the person was not Narada, it was Naradi. He had been converted into a woman. And she said, thinking, did this person's boat capsize? He sent his boat, rescued her. And she said, oh, you are such a handsome, wonderful king. Thank you so much for saving me. He said, who are you? How did you become distressed? I don't know. Where are your family members? I don't know. Where do you come from? I don't know. And so he said, you are such a beautiful woman. Since you are alone and without shelter, please become my wife. Oh yes, thank you. And they went and he gave her unlimited wealth, palaces, so many things. And then they had children, 50 children, 50 sons. enjoying life. And then the sons, they grew up and they got married. And then the king, the wife, Naradi, said, why don't you give them some wealth? He said, no, if I give them wealth, they'll become spoiled. What I'll do, I will divide up my kingdom, 50 parts. Each one gets an equal part. And they did that. Then the wives were saying, actually, you deserve more. You're much greater than your brothers. Each one of the wives began to encourage their husband like this. And there was enmity. And they started to fight amongst one another. And she was trying to calm them down. No, my dear sons. They began to fight, and war broke out. And all of them were killed, one after another. She saw them slaughtered. And she became so distraught. She said, because actually there was a temple, a Krishna temple in the kingdom. But she was always thinking, no, I'm too busy with my household affairs. No time to go to the temple. No. And so then she went to the temple and she said, Krishna, you're so cruel. You have taken away my family. Now, how will there be any propagation of society? You're not only cruel, you're a fool. No, there will be no dynasty. How will things go on? What kind of a creator are you? She was lamenting and crying, and condemning Krishna. Then Krishna came in the form of a Brahman. And he preached to her. He preached Bhagavad-gita, teachings of Bhagavad-gita. And after some time, she calmed down. He said, actually, everyone is born and dies. This happens to everyone. You should understand your eternal nature. You should go to the temple. You should become free from this illusion. And then the Brahmin said, so go take your bath in the lake and think about what I've said. So she went into the lake and came out, and she saw Krishna standing on the bank. She came out, ran up, and embraced Krishna. And Krishna said, what's wrong? Did you see something? No. Yes, I saw. And he described the whole thing. Oh. And Narada said, I got married, I did this, so many things happened, my children were killed. What was happening to me? This is my Maya. You wanted to see my Maya? Would you like to see more? No. Krishna, I only want to serve you, life after life. And I only want your devotional service. So we have seen Maya. We were born in the realm of Maya. We were not playing a veena and traveling around and enlightening people about Krishna. So this is Krishna's mercy. Now we have come to devotional service. We have Bhagavad-gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have the association of Vaishnavas, we have the holy name, we have Krishna Prasadam, which is coming up very soon. We have all these things. We're so fortunate. And if we just take advantage of this great fortune that we have, and don't allow this Maya to happen, to manifest in any way in our lives, then Krishna consciousness will conquer, as we say, Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vichayati Shri Krishna Sankirtan. That when we become fully immersed in devotional service, fully engaged, then Sankirtan will conquer us. It will conquer our consciousness. The holy name will become so powerful. Every time I chant that holy name, I will feel unlimited transcendental bliss. And if I'm chanting the holy name and I'm thinking, when will I finish? When will I finish these 16 rounds? And then I can do what I want. Then we know we're begging Krishna, please let me see your material energy. So we have to be very careful and understand the great fortune that we have. And then our Krishna consciousness will expand more and more. And this pralaya and this, bhutva praliyate will not affect us. Rather, we will see it and we will feel compassion for the fallen conditioned souls who are just so happy. But Maya is so powerful. Sometimes a devotee, if he's not careful, he's thinking, here I am in the temple struggling, sadhana bhakti, so much difficulty, and just see all these people, they're enjoying. They seem to be enjoying so nicely. Let me just, just a little Maya. They have a saying in Spanish, una vez por año no hace daño. Once in a year, no problem. Speaking about drinking a little wine. Once a year, no problem. So sometimes we think, yeah, just a little Maya, good Maya, not bad Maya, not sinful Maya, good Maya. Nice family, go visit my family, see my old friends. Actually, when I returned after just coming involved in Krishna consciousness, I thought, I had my Bhagavatam, I would go and see all my friends, and they said, what are you talking about? This is crazy. I thought, showed them the Bhagavatam. No, look here. This is mythology. And I realized that Krishna was telling me, these friends are not your friends. Your friends are the devotees in the temple. Your friends are the Vaishnavas. These are your real friends. And then, so we have to always realize this. And then our Krishna consciousness will flourish and we will become absorbed in by Srila Prabhupada's unlimited mercy. So these are some thoughts on this particular verse. Any comment or question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You're mentioning about Mahavishnu blowing that breath. So my question is, like our universe is the smallest universe because Brahma has only 4 heads. And there are so many universes with huge universes with Brahma with thousands of heads and all. When Lord Mahavishnu inhales, all the universes at the same time they go inside, or according to the size of the universe, they have a different duration.
How did Narada Muni do it? How did Narada Muni do it? By curiosity, So, however one wants to understand the jiva coming into the material atmosphere, however you want to understand it, there's 2 ways you can understand it. They fell from the spiritual world or they manifested from Brahman. However you want to understand it. It just, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains very nicely, first of all, you can't understand it completely. But you can understand we are tatastha. We can go this way or that way. Now how that happens, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that you will understand. When you're fully Krishna conscious, you'll understand it. So if we don't understand it, we can understand that I'm not fully Krishna conscious, and let me take advantage of the mercy of Sri Guru and Gauranga and become fully Krishna conscious. Then I will understand. But Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Kala Krishna Das. He was personally associating 24 hours a day with Lord Chaitanya. How can you get more fortunate? But he was carried away. So, however it happens, as Srila Prabhupada said so many times, you cannot trace out the history of the living entity. But you can understand where we have to go, which I just said from Bhagavad-gita, that tad dhamma paramam mama. that's where we have to go. Parama Gatim. And that should be our focus. Otherwise, why doesn't the Bhagavatam explain this? It explains the phenomenon in just passing, but there's no detail. And we try to go into the detail in our conditioned state. And then we have controversy. No. As Srila Prabhupada said, crow and tall logic. No. The crow landed on the branch and that shaking caused the fruit to fall. No, the fruit fell and scared the crow. No, and he flew away. So which one was it? No. Unless you're there and you saw it, you could not understand. And even if you saw it, you may not be able to understand. You saw a fruit falling and a crow flying. No. So let us concentrate on our Krishna consciousness. Yeah, somehow or other. A very intelligent comment. Somehow or another, we have fallen. Let us get out. No. So, okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaji. Maharaji, Vaikuntha means there is no anxiety. But you narrated the story of Uddhavji. So it appeared that there is power tussle and Uddhav like devotee, he has to go through agony and anxiety to choose a particular party. So is there...
Purusha Avatar. There's some echo, I couldn't get it. Yes, there's no anxiety. No. But there is anxiety, meaning, when will I be with Krishna? When will I be with Narayan? No. So that anxiety exists, but that anxiety increases our bliss. So anxiety, everything comes from Krishna. Anxiety is there in the spiritual world also. But it's original anxiety. Just like a devotee has no anxiety and is full of anxiety. No anxiety by lamenting of something that I've lost in this material world. But anxiety, how can I do more for Krishna? No. How can I increase my bhakti? So that anxiety is positive anxiety. No. So there is anxiety there. No. But that anxiety will not affect us. No. And cause us to go away from Krishna or Narayan. So as Tribikram Prabhu said, somehow or another, let's accept what Srila Prabhupada said. And not, as Srila Prabhupada said, don't try to be a better Paramahansa than your Guru Maharaj. If Prabhupada didn't explain it in detail, then why should we try to figure out something that Prabhupada didn't think it was necessary to explain?
Maharaji, actually, I could not understand how Uddhav, he is fearing that whether to go Mother Rukmini side or to go Balram side, and is fearful. So how it is like for pleasure of the Krishna?
How is there anxiety or knowing? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's pleasing. It's pleasing to Krishna to see devotees, just like it's very pleasing to Krishna to see Chandravali and Radharani and their groups arguing with one another, thinking that the other one doesn't know what they're doing. This Radharani causing Krishna so much grief, Chandravali is thinking, and the gopis with Radharani thinking, they don't know how to please Krishna. They just know some rituals. No, they don't know how to please Krishna. So this is very pleasing to Krishna. It was very pleasing to Krishna to see Rukmini in anxiety, because that anxiety caused her to glorify Krishna in a way that was competing with Krishna's own words. No. So in this way, Krishna draws out of his devotees so many feelings of ecstatic love and increases their ecstatic love. No. That's how. It's pleasing to Krishna to see devotees arguing. But that argument increases their bliss because they're remembering Krishna more and more. Hare Krishna. Yes,
So-
one devotee, you still have a... And then... here's another question over here. And this has to be the last question because the time is up.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful description, your lecture. Maharaj, you mentioned how Vrajvasis are feeling so much separation, how these Dwarkavasis are knowing Uddhava, Balramji, they have went Vraj and they've seen the separation they are feeling for Krishna. So, how such feelings we can develop in our life? Is it like initially, in an initial part of your lecture, you're mentioning how Markandeya Muni is feeling so much fortunate, so much gratefulness. So is this condensed form of gratefulness when we feel for Lord, for the spiritual master, for Srila Prabhupada, and then it condensed into such love and separation is like this, or Maharaj, how it happens?
I didn't... Yeah. As you explained it yourself, like feelings of separation from Sri Guru, feelings of separation, just like we go out on Sankirtan, we feel separation from the temple. I remember when I would do Sankirtan, after a few hours of just one materialist after another, I was thinking, oh, I'll be so happy to be back in the temple. And so it increases as we advance in devotional service. Then we feel feelings of we should feel feelings of separation when we leave the temple room. Here's the Lord is here. It's so beautiful. No. But sometimes we get caught in mechanical devotional service. Okay, I did the Darshan program. Now let me do the Prasadam program. And let me do the next program and the next program. So we have to be careful we don't get caught in these mechanics. Mechanics are important, but we have to see the purpose behind them.
I was asking Maharaj.
Wait, already time is up. I can speak to you afterwards. Thank you all very much for your kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaura Premanandi.